Now, thousands of people from Langa in the Western Cape still remain homeless. This after a fire destroyed about 600 shacks at the Joe Slovo informal settlement over the weekend, affecting around about 1,200 people. The fore is said to have started, the fire, is said to have started in a closed, unoccupied shack. Now, for an update, we are joined by Western Cape MEC of Human Settlements, that's Tertuis Simmers. MEC, thanks for joining us. Good to have you on the program.
Good morning, Leanne, and good morning to all the Morning Live viewers.
So, MEC, perhaps just give us an update. How many shacks exactly were affected and the number of people? This is a number that it appears to be changing. Is it 300 shacks affecting 1,200 people, or has that changed?
Well, and in accordance with the City of Cape Town's Disaster and Risk Management Centre, obviously they've now enumerated those people that actually were present during the fire and after the fire, which were not away for the Easter weekend. And I can confirm, as of Tuesday, it is 260 informal structures that burned down, affecting 767 individuals that were sadly affected due to this disastrous fire.
Okay, so the numbers we gave were more than what the actual number is. So that is the correct number that you've just given us.
Yes, I do need to emphasize, we are experiencing trouble with those that have been affected, that were not present over the Easter weekend, that went to their home provinces, which sadly are refusing to actually register and be part of the process. So what I've given you is the official registered affected people's figure. It might increase substantially, but that's why we have to encouraging people that were actually affected to register and complete the process for us so we can get the realistic figure at the end of the day, yes.
So when we talk about an estimated damage of the fire, what are we looking at?
Well, and obviously the city has started assessing the damage, including that this excludes the loss of ID documents and birth certificates and so forth. And a figure has been submitted through to the National Department of Human Settlements, which is in excess of more than 30 million rand. I need to emphasize this is just an emphasis, once again, dependent on the number of people that still need to register to be part of this process to get a complete and final financial implication of what happened over the Easter weekend.
That is a lot. That is a lot, MEC. I mean, this has caused a lot of damage.
No, indeed it has, Leanne. And if you consider that, fires in informal settlements across the Western Cape, also in the City of Cape Town since 2015, we've seen in excess of over 180 million rand being utilized for temporary solutions. So yes, this is a very, very high amount for this fire as well.
So what happens now? I mean, obviously there's still a lot of assessments that need to be done. So perhaps you've already done the assessment. I know there's still more to happen of the cost of damages due to the fire, as you would in any area in the province where a similar situation has occurred. The same process, has that been followed?
Yes, the city has dispatched their first letter to the National Department of Human Settlements, obviously based on estimations to their availability. Requesting, if they could deviate from the USDG current funding allocation. And the National Department of Human Settlements will now need to escalate that through their DG administratively to National Treasury so that, approval can be given for the deviation so the funds can be used to address the need on the ground. So that is the due process is moving forward. But in the meantime, the city and key NGOs, NPOs, and even, normal residents of the City of Cape Town has come on board. They've actually come to assist these individuals while we are waiting for the hopeful positive response in a quick turnaround time from the National Department of Human Settlements, because as a provincial department, we have concurred and supported their request so that we can immediately see boots on the ground, so to speak, Leanne.
So let's talk about what is happening now to the people that have been affected. Where are they being housed right now?
Well, and when the Premier and the Deputy Minister and I visited the site on Tuesday afternoon, I must tell you that, a lot of those that were affected and were in the province and at the site during the fire breakout over Saturday have actually started rebuilding informal structures already, to such an extent that, the City of Cape Town Disaster Management estimated that half of the people that were physically affected have actually started rebuilding. Those that do not have the financial resources are being housed at various community centers and churches and so forth, while they are waiting for their assistance packages from the city of Cape Town. So that is where they are currently at the end.
So the question is, I suppose, the plan beyond the temporary shelter, because clearly this is going to happen again. You can see that, these are not good living conditions for anybody. When we look at these visuals and we look at the kind of dwellings that these individuals are living in right now, is it the same plan to help rebuild the exact same structures, or do you have a new plan? I mean, is this perhaps a new start that you could assist these individuals with to get a better system in place?
Well, and one needs to understand, and I'm focusing on Joe Slovo in this instance. Remember, the site where the fire occurred was actually earmarked for phase 3B, where we were to construct 2,885 housing opportunities. Sadly, a fair portion has been invaded. We've lost 1,500 opportunities already in a specific area. So there was a permanent workable solution communicated to the community, but sadly the invasions have now eroded that possibility. With the fire over the weekend, through the sub-council chair and through the deputy mayor, the plan remains to actually, formalize the informality so that, your ambulances can get access to the informal area, because in the Western Cape we do have a sustainable plan. We have started communicating that through to the various councils and sub-councils, utilizing new technology, which we've also engaged the National Department on. But one key partner that plays a key role in the success of the implementation of the Western Cape plan is the community themselves that are crucial in this relationship and moving forward. So due to what was happening at the Joe Slovo site at the moment, we will be needing follow-up sessions. We will be needing, social facilitators to engage the community, because we want to formalize and ensure that these areas are actually accessible to emergency vehicles and so forth moving forward. That's why, as part of this financial year, we've actually targeted 15 informal settlements in the Western Cape with a strategic plan. We've analyzed all of our close to 960 informal settlements. We know exactly what needs to be done where. But once again, we communicate this through to our communities, and I would love to use this opportunity to ask our communities to prevent and stop further invasion, because then you are actually defeating the objective of the 3 spheres of government with our plan to increase the dignified living conditions which you can live on into the future.
And this is the reality, is that we keep on covering these stories, whether it is the Joe Slovo informal settlement, because this is something that we see all the time, and again we see this, like you're saying, in Langa. The settlement is badly designed. We know this, and the wooden shacks are tightly compacted. They meet each other. I ask you this question because it is going to happen again. It has. It goes on all the time, years and years and years, and people lose absolutely everything in these fires, and it costs not only the individual, but of course the municipality and the city at the same time. I mean, and despite the loss of lives. So the remedy in this, is it hard to contain these settlements? What is the actual problem at the heart and the root of all of this?
Leanne, what we've observed through various informal settlements, even during COVID-19 across the Western Cape, but more so in the city of Cape Town, and where there's been various fires in other areas like Imizamayetu and Masiphumelele as well, we have a form of criminality that has crept in the mushrooming of informal settlements. We have slum lords, for the lack of a better word, that actually, are earning massive incomes through this illegal expansion and invasion of state-owned land. So, I have engaged the National Minister on this. We need to find a workable solution. It's not just dependent on the Department of Human Settlements and the 3 spheres of government. It needs a whole of society approach. It needs a new approach, but fundamentally, one will need to address the criminal aspect. It's actually driving informal settlements, expansions, once again, defeating the objective of all 3 spheres of government. And I believe at an amicable time, once the National Minister and I have engaged on how to address the criminality aspect, we will see the Western Cape's plan actually working and being impactful across the Western Cape, because we are piloting solutions already, where we are focusing on how we can incrementally upgrade informal settlements, but also ensure ownership to qualifying beneficiaries. But Our community is key, just like our councillors is key in this, in communicating the solution moving forward of the three spheres of government as well.
Where does law enforcement fit into this? Because if, as you're saying, there's a lot of illegalities that are being questioned here, and there's a lot of illegal activity that's taking place, sometimes even criminal activity. I mean, we were reading stories of the fact that, firefighting efforts were even hampered going in there. But besides that, perhaps you can address that in a moment. But in terms of law enforcement, and you know that there are issues, why is this allowed to happen? Why doesn't the province intervene, get involved, and stop it before it gets to this point?
Then I must say, from a law enforcement perspective, and one needs to commend the city of Cape Town with their limited budget. They've expanded their law enforcement work across the relevant areas during COVID-19, in the absence of a functional South African police service in the Western Cape, which are heavily resourced. We saw the city of Cape Town, together with the Western Cape government's boots on the ground plan, actually, prevent further invasions. We could stop further invasions to such an extent that it's now down to single digits that one can see happening. So as a provincial government, even with our limited resources, together with the city of Cape Town, we are really trying our utmost best, remembering that law enforcement at the national level is the police's function. But sadly, in a lot of these incidents, they do not play their part. And when we as the Western Cape government hold them to account, there's always excuses. Instead of stepping up and manning up, and we've asked continuously, provide us with more resources, because Langa is also one of the worst crime-ridden areas in the Western Cape. That is a stat we've given timelessly and over to the national government. They need to step up, partner with us, because from a national human settlements perspective, together with the provincial human settlements, we have done our part. We've played our part. We've spent over 400 million rand over the course of 2 years to protect even from further invasions at the expense of human settlement opportunities. Where were SABC in this? They were nowhere. City of Cape Town came to the fore. They've increased their visibility, their tactical units together with us in private security. So together, we have shown what can be done. But the key partner here is the South African Police Service. They are missing in action, for the lack of a better word.
Well, I can understand your reasoning on this, but I mean, I'm going to put a very practical example on the table. I mean, say something like this was happening in a Sea Point suburb or in Claremont, for example. This wouldn't happen. This would never be allowed to happen. And why is it that when you look at an area like Langa, when you look at an area like a Joe Slovo settlement, I know I'm drawing, very difficult comparisons right now, but this is the reality. This would never be allowed to happen. It would never have been allowed to get to this point. I know you blame SAPS, but surely more can be done.
Yeah, no, I do agree. More can be done if all three spheres of government work together. Now, in the absence of SAPS, the city of Cape Town has got limited resources. Province has come under Premier Windy with his boots on the ground plan. We've seen the massive impact that this safety plan has. And I think it would be even more impactful if the national government, through SAPS, does play their part. And if you use an example of other areas where we do not see this expansion of informal settlements, one also needs to understand that there's also rules and regulations and laws within time frames which we need to act. But if the same community in which these informal settlements are ballooning or mushrooming do not allow the law enforcement officers of the city of Cape Town to play their part, you will see this happening. So our community also has a role to play in this, because it's happening in their backyard. And if we can work together with them to prevent further expansions of informal settlements, we will not see this happening. To use the other areas which you focused on during COVID-19, we actually have seen the pop-up of these tented villages, and had it not been for the emergency regulations under COVID-19, the city of Cape Town, through the various departments, could have acted. They could have provided these individuals with alternative housing solutions, or also approach a court. So, there's different remedies to different approaches, but we all need to understand, as citizens, we do play a key role in what is happening in our communities at the moment.
I just want to get a little bit of comments from you on the DA's Helen Ziller talking recently about comments that she made with regard to living in somewhere like Langa. And to quote what Ziller had to say, was basically saying, to be poor in Langa in Cape Town is 100, probably 1,000 times better than to be poor in many townships in the rest of the country. I want to get a little bit of explanation from you on something like this. Could you live in Langa? Would you be happy living in Langa?
Well, first and foremost, I can't deliver comment on Helen Zille's comments. I can, from a governance perspective, tell you that if you look at the national norms and standards that's been set for the number of toilets and access to water points in informal settlements, the Western Cape outperforms any other province, which means that those that live in informality do have access to adequate basic services, sometimes even above the national norm.
So you agree? So you agree with her? I mean, in a nutshell, you are agreeing with her.
Ma'am, from a governance perspective and the delivery track record that we have, to live in an informal settlement in the Western Cape, you have access to above normal national standards, which means you do have a better quality of life based on, not that I'm saying, but the national norms and standards have set for all provinces.
Yeah. So I go back to my original question. Would you live there? Could you live there?
Ma'am, I do come from an area which was like that, and as a community we stood together and we've stopped any further invasions. So I can live in such an area if the community takes ownership with me. It's all about ownership, community ownership.
When you get comments coming from people that live in Langa, and this is an article that I'm reading where one of the ward councillors, Lwazi Pakade, commenting on what Zille had to say, basically saying that the DA does not put effort to make sure that our townships are growing, especially in Langa. They leave them the way that they are, and basically just saying that services don't exist. Developments are slow in townships. People live in squalor. People live in hostels that were built in 1927. People are complaining about things that the city was supposed to have fixed long ago. They're living with drainage systems of apartheid times. So for yourself and Zille to say that this is 1,000,000 times better to stay there than anywhere else, that does not appear to be how people are feeling living in Langa. And they blame you, the DA, for the way you're running it.
Well, and one needs to understand that, and I'll take informal settlements upgrading, which is what the council is referring to. If you work according to a plan, you communicate your plan, you want to expand your bulk infrastructure to enhance the quality of lives of the residents living in informality. And the same community allows invasions, which means you can't service your bulks, you can't expand your bulk capacity. And I mean, we saw the invasion in Khayelitsha, the impact of that on the planning to enhance the quality of the people's lives. I think it's actually disingenuous to blame the Democratic Alliance, because a political party is one side, but the government thing, which this council is part of, they give inputs on their IDP, inputs on their budget, but ultimately these specific types of councillors need to go to their communities and engage them and tell them what is being planned, instead of trying to politicize everything that happens. So it's disingenuous to blame the Democratic Alliance. In terms of our portfolio in human settlements since 2009, we have seen improvements across the Western Cape, where we have seen rapid illegal expansion of informal settlements at the cost of human settlements development. One needs to answer, should the political party take the blame, or should we not ask our community to be more vigilant and be part of the process of government, irrespective of which political party you blame to? And that's the sad reality in these informal settlements, that things are politicized instead of the correct facts being given to the residents in the entire ward.
Yeah, I know that this conversation could go on a lot longer. It really could. I wish I could delve a little bit more into it, but we will certainly get an update from you on the situation. But if I may just conclude the interview, going back to our original conversation about what's happening in Joe Slovo, has the hands-on work actually begun? Is this something that we're seeing already started right now?
Well, during our visit on Tuesday, like I said, a lot of these community members were actually erecting their own structures. Various NGOs and NPOs, together with the City of Cape Town, are actively playing their part in SASA as well. So yes, the three spheres of government are working together, but if those that have not registered on the city's risk register could kindly do so, then we can actually complete our process together with the City of Cape Town, get the required deviation from national so that we can do our boots on the ground through the City of Cape Town and ultimately start implementing and enhancing our people's quality of life.
All right, we leave it there. MEC, thanks so much for your time. Thank you very, very much. Western Cape MEC of Human Settlement, Tertuis Simmers, talking to us here on Morning Live after we saw lots of fires that unfortunately devastating a lot of shacks and also uprooting lives, affecting about over 1,000 lives and people living there. So we'll keep on watching that story for you.